the Trump administration's 4 years of neglect, including deliberate degradation, left Afghanistan operations in despair. Could you be specific about deliberate degradation? What are you specifically referring to?
There are many aspects if you look at the Doha Agreement and what led up to that. When President Trump took office, there was more than 10,000 American troops in Afghanistan. He took it down to 2,500. He negotiated the release of 5,000 Taliban prisoners that were being held by the Ghani government without consultation with the Ghani government. He negotiated the Doha Agreement with the Taliban without the Ghani government in the room. And he all but froze the special immigrant visa program, which had been providing opportunities for some of our Afghan allies to get out of the country and to come back. So it was a general sense of degradation and neglect there that the president inherited. And do not underestimate the effect that that Doha Agreement had on the morale and the willingness to fight on the Afghan National Security and Defense Forces. It had a very corrosive effect on their willingness to continue to fight for their country. Now, we didn't see that. And part of the reason we didn't see that is because we couldn't see the plans that the previous administration allegedly worked on during the transition. No, as I said in my opening statement, none of those plans were forthcoming.
So would you say that the points that you just listed especially were the ones that made this transition?
Those were some of the key ones.
Okay. And a quick follow-up on what the report says about the administration not broadcasting loudly about any potential worst-case scenarios out of concern. It would signal lack of confidence in the Afghan government's position. We obviously ended up seeing Ghani flee the country.
Yeah.
And so was that a well-thought-out decision?
What was what a well-thought-out decision? His decision to flee?
Not broadcasting loudly any concerns about the lack of confidence in the Afghan government.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think, as I said, it's a difficult balance to strike, and we were having internal conversations. In fact, we had conversations with the Ghani government about our concerns over what was happening in the countryside throughout Afghanistan there in early August, and where we came down on was not calling for an evacuation sooner because we didn't want the Ghani government to collapse. And we had every assurance made by President Ghani that he wasn't going anywhere, that he was still in charge, that he still had a viable administration. And so, you know, when do you make that call? And it's difficult. It's tough to do it in the moment. And nobody can predict the future. Again, as I said, we learned from that experience and we applied a more aggressive approach, if you will, in Ethiopia and in Ukraine. But every instance is different. Every capital that's under threat is under a different kind of threat, and you have to evaluate it.